Oh, yeah. Here in North Dakota, we definitely are regretting our votes for Grandpa Tariff. Oh, yeah. Me and my husband run a seed farm up here, and Daddy runs a soybean farm. And the tariffs are hitting North Dakota harder than almost any other state. Yeah, we're really concerned about it. Last time Trump was president, we had to get a bailout, and we were hoping that this time it would be better. But I'm not seeing any signs that we're going to get spared this time around either. We had to pick up a couple pieces of steel in West Fargo yesterday, and we asked them if the tariffs had been affecting the prices yet, and they said just talking about the tariffs affects the price. You know, China will start going to Brazil and Africa for their soybeans, and then they'll establish relationships and we'll get completely cut out of the loop. Trump says it's short-term pain for long-term gain. So far in my life, I've never seen the tariffs do any gain for any of us farmers here in North Dakota. I'm not really even sure why we voted for him.
Breaking news. MAGA soybean farmers across the southern United States are crying and complaining about the Chinese not buying our soybeans. What? The Chinese are not buying our soybeans because of Trump's tariffs, where they have in turn placed tariffs on our soybeans and made them so expensive that we can't sell soybeans to China, and China is one of the biggest buyers of soybeans in the world. What? Well, MAGA farmers, who did you vote for? MAGA farmers, we tried to tell you this would not be a pretty picture. MAGA farmers, you not remember back in 2018, 2017, and Trump had another tariff war with China, and this same thing happened? Well, did you not expect it to happen again? There was about a $15 or $16 billion bailout. Socialism for the farmers. Oh, it's okay for you all to get payments when Trump messes up the economy on soybeans and causes China to go to South America to buy soybeans. And it's a problem for you now, and you're crying about it, and you're not happy about it. Well, FAFO. You F around and you're going to find out. You did the same thing again. History under Trump repeats itself. We have the largest deficit increase under Trump before, likewise, the second largest one now. Tariff problems under Trump, and you had problems selling your crops in. Same thing again. So when are you going to learn? What do y'all think? I think they don't need to bail them out. I think they need to play on the same field like the rest of us. They don't need to be bailed out. What do you all think? Love to hear from my Democrats, my MAGAs, my crazies, my cuckoos, my burned out light bulbs. Y'all voted for Trump. This is what you get. What do you all think?
On this episode of Fuck Around and Find Out,
we are very concerned about the current outlook. As a soybean farmer, we are dependent on trade. Right at 50% of the soybeans produced in the United States are exported. China takes more of our soybeans than all other foreign customers combined. So they're a major part of our market, and this trade war is very concerning to us right now.
That is Caleb Ragland, president of the American Soybean Association.
Well, the ag economy in general is already in a tough spot. The last couple of years, prices have declined. Soybeans are down 40% from where they were 3 years ago. Costs of production are higher. Interest rates are higher. The overall farm economy is struggling. And then we had a trade war with our biggest customer.
According to Caleb, due to the tariffs on China, he could be out of business by 2027. Why, might you ask? Because this time last year, China had already pre-ordered about 5 million metric tons of soybeans. And this time today, 0. Now, word on the block is due to the tariffs, China has turned to Brazilian soybeans instead of American soybeans. But you better believe Caleb has not lost hope in his daddy.
We want to keep this nation strong. We're the backbone of America. And I know the president said he loves farmers, and I believe he does. I think he's trying to do what's right for this country. But we do want to make sure that our voice is heard, and then realize that we got to make sure that we survive through these tough times. And
some of these Fuck Around and Find Outs just write themselves. Have the day you voted for.
So, Brazil is a member of BRICS. This is an alliance of Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and maybe other countries which have joined. So, when the trade war began between US and China, China was the largest importer of US soybeans, which they use in pig rearing, maybe not. So when the trade war began and the tariffs started escalating, importing from US became a major risk because of cost, because of fluctuating prices due to tariffs. So You know, businessmen and women like certainty in the market. They don't like uncertainty. That's not good for the market. So what the Chinese buyers did, they shifted towards the Brazil and Argentina. They started purchasing from there. You know, so U.S. farmers, they are stranded with their produce. They are stranded with their produce, nowhere to sell, because China was the biggest buyer from them. And when this trade war began, like Canada did, you know, Canada, when the trade war began, they subsidized their farmers to prepare for the impact. But here in US, Trump just began the trade war without thinking about our farmers back home. So our farmers are suffering a lot. As you can see, even in Arkansas the other day, the farmers were calling out Trump to begin promoting socialism again, giving money to them so that they can survive to the next year. So farming has become a great risk in this country, and our farmers are giving in slowly. And what they do after giving in, they sell these farms to corporates, to multinationals. Yeah. And now we start consuming chemicals. I don't know what will happen.
Trump's curse on American farmers is a blessing for Brazil's. Trump killed U.S. soybean farmers who have lost their biggest customer, China. And not only that, they don't know what to plant for next season. A double hit to the bottom line. But one nation's curse is another's good fortune. Brazilian farmers are celebrating a surge in demand from China. Brazil loves Trump because Trump's working for them, or so it seems. Soy farmer Wesley Rosas said it well. Quote, "The United States is provoking this fight, but it is Brazil that is going to end up benefiting," unquote. China, the world's largest soybean importer, has shifted its purchases from America to Brazil, which now accounts for over 70% of Chinese soybean imports. Meanwhile, U.S. soybean exports to China have, of course, plummeted, with some farmers questioning the viability of their operations. Again, Trump and the Republican administration have cratered the American economy and crushed American farmers specifically. They benefit other countries. So if you're an American, it's sad news and hard times to come. But if you're Brazilian and a host of other nations, it's the roaring 20s of the 21st century.
To farm it.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
You know, they aren't good for the other countries, they aren't good for me, and who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? You know, it's just a match, you know, and nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So I'm, you know, many of us will, you know, we'll get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
Well, it ends up that I was dead right all those times I made the satire videos about the soybean farmers going out of business, because that's exactly what's happening right now. In years past, China would buy a third of the soybeans produced in the United States from all the soybean farmers, and right now they're buying zero soybeans from all the farmers, and all of the fall crops are coming in right now, and they don't have buyers, and they're all about to go out of business because of all of his absolutely horrid tariff policies. Why anyone ever thought these tariffs were a good idea is beyond me, but they sure as fuck are not. And now rural America and farms across our country are paying the price. This happened in 2017, by the way. And he had to do a huge, like, $30 billion bailout for the farmers. Who knows if he's going to do it again? Who knows if he even cares about giving them a bailout? It doesn't seem like he cares about them at all based on all of his horrible policies. So, Follow me because I'm usually right about everything.
You guys have got to see this video. So farmers in Arkansas have gathered together and they're praying to God because Donald Trump is literally destroying their farms and there's nothing else they can do.
Farmers, in my opinion, dear Lord, and it's only my opinion, are closer to thee than anyone else on this earth because we deal with your earth every day. Dear Lord, we're hurting, dear Lord. We can't help what's happened to us.
It's so sad. These farmers are having their entire livelihoods destroyed by a billionaire who doesn't care about anything but making himself richer. Under the Trump administration, multiple different programs set up by Biden to help support small and regional farming have been froze or cut. For example, the USDA's Regional Food Business Centers program. It was meant to boost local supply chains through grants and support, and now it's been terminated. Farmers who were approved for this funding and expecting to get it still have not got their money. They've been left stranded. The Trump administration has cut over 600 USDA grants. These programs benefited farmers, sustainable agriculture, and food security. Organizations across rural America lost funding, forcing them to lay off staff and abandon projects. All of this funding has been cut while the big beautiful bill boosted crop insurance and subsidy payouts, of course benefiting larger industrial farms and hurting the small farms. Put all of that together and it's no wonder Arkansas farmers are praying. They've not just lost support, they've been set up to fail.
So here's the catch. Will Donald Trump bail out these farmers like he did in 2017? That billion US dollars was used to bail out these farmers, like in 2017. Will he do so? Because as you have seen from the videos, China was buying a third of our soybean production, but since the start of the trade war, they are not buying, or if they are buying, maybe they are not buying in bulk as they used to, because they found a solution to this menace. A country buying from countries which are not their enemies, countries which are not willing to start a trade war at any moment, you know. So it's very hard for our farmers back home. They are struggling, and maybe it's not something to rejoice about, but these guys voted for Trump in huge numbers. And maybe they expected that maybe Trump's policies will benefit them. I don't know how. Because what Trump was speaking during the campaigns was almost against their interest. I did not hear Trump talk about the farmers in his speeches, in his campaign. He didn't talk about the farmers. Or maybe if you have a clip where Trump maybe talk about uplifting the lives of our farmers, you can link me to it, because he didn't say so.
American farmers overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump in this past election, and they're about to have an FAFO moment. As background, American farmers export $15.2 billion in soybeans to China every single year. And now, because of Donald Trump's tariffs, these farmers are in big trouble. 8 out of the 10 states that produce the most soybeans that are exported to China voted for Donald Trump. The last time Donald Trump was in office, the agriculture sector lost $27 billion as a result of his previous tariffs. As a result of Donald Trump's previous rounds of tariffs in 2018, China began to seek alternative sources for soybeans outside the United States. Since 2018, China has developed a strong relationship with Brazil, accounting for 73% of all soybean exports from the country. China's purchase of soybeans from Brazil has now skyrocketed this year, and it is expected that they will replace the United States and all of the farmers who depend upon those exports in the near future.
Well, dudes, happy Monday. I am back from vacation. I told you maybe I would pop in last week, but there was nothing to add, and I hate saying the same stuff like, it'll be okay, just wait a minute, as much as you hate to hear it. So I was like, deuces, I'm out, I'll be back on Monday. So guess what? I'm back. Markets are up big. I wanted to pop in this morning just to kind of explain why. We've got soybeans up about 22 cents. 22 is my favorite number, by the way, fun fact. Corn's currently up about 2.5 to 3. Wheat's up about 3 or so. Kansas City wheat's just kind of laying there like a slug. Spring wheat's up a bit. Meal's up a bit, soybean oil's up a bit, crude oil's up a little bit, the dollar's up a little bit. But the biggest thing that we're looking at is tomorrow is the supposed China deadline. Just switched over to Twitter, which is darker if you were wondering what just happened. But tomorrow is the supposed China, like we need to come up with an extension here or a trade deal or something. And so last night, Trump posted basically on his Truth Social page, China's worried about its shortage of soybeans, which you are seeing a spike in domestic Chinese prices. China has not been buying from the U.S. People are starting to panic a bit. There's good crush margins. Brazil's running out of beans. There's a lot of talk that Brazil's going to start importing soybeans from the U.S. A lot of shit has gone down since I've been gone in the soybean market that I think could, really potentially lead to an explosive sort of move, because all of these folks out here are counting on soybean demand to be zero for some freaking reason. Like, they are not paying attention to the fact that both Argentina and Brazil, Argentina has more supply available than Brazil does. Brazil also is running into some quality issues, but I digress. He posted, basically going back to the Trump post, I hope China will quickly quadruple, it's a word that's hard for me to say this early in the morning, its soybean orders. This is also a way of substantially reducing China's trade deficit with the USA. Rapid service will be provided. Thank you, President Xi. And in addition to that, so that kind of helped trigger things. We also have seen that some news has emerged. There's a group on Twitter that's interesting, or X, whatever, interesting to follow, and really kind of insightful into all of the other things that are happening in the outside market as a whole. And basically, there's some news emerging of a trade deal that has never happened before, is what they're saying. NVIDIA and AMD agreed with Trump to provide the U.S. with 15% of revenue from chip sales in China in order to remove export controls. So just kind of going back to the China-U.S. thing, like, it's important to remember that Biden has also been really restricting China's access to chips and chip technology. We're not talking about the barbecue kind or whatever, which I always think about or have thought about for a while. The introduction of chips, of this sort of AI, this technology, all of these things that China is wanting to do with expanding their technology, they have a lot of things that they want to do that requires access to the U.S. chip technology, apparently. And so Biden's been restricting their access to it. Trump was restricting their access to it. And basically at this point, it looks like Trump is kind of holding this sort of carrot out with a stick and being like, hey, we'll give you access to this chip technology. We want to make sure we're making money off it, though, for one. And for two, in order to get it, you've got to be doing some things too. And so I do think he could backdoor them into some of this, though there are some security concerns. There's some NVIDIA H2O chips that have had some sort of, they think that, like the US could shut them down at any point in time if they were to think that they were being used for something wrong or blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of moving parts. We also have the Russia-Ukraine situation. Trump has mentioned possibly, that China would be impacted by these secondary tariffs if Russia doesn't come to the table and come up with a peace deal. We do have a meeting between Trump and Putin on Friday. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out, simply because, part of the thought process is that we would freeze the front line, but Ukraine's not invited to this meeting, and Zelensky's kind of like, hey, we're not giving up on our land. This is Henry, by the way. We're not giving up on our land. Like, you can't just have a meeting and come up with a peace deal and not invite us. Like, we have to be invited to the party. So it'll be interesting to see just kind of how all that plays out as well. But to start the week, like I said, we're up a bit. Soybeans do have an interesting demand story. Everyone is behaving like we don't have any export interest. And like I said, it's basically all U.S. all the time now, between now and basically the end of January, first part of February, outside of whatever beans Argentina wants to ship, which Argentina will have more, but not enough to basically cover the world's demand for the next 6 months, until Brazil's back to harvesting. So lots of things going to happen this week. We got a USDA report out tomorrow too. It's going to be a big one. I'm excited to be back. I'll check back in later, I'm sure. Hopefully we'll still be maintaining this strength, but there'll be a lot to talk about no matter what. So have a good morning and whatever.
So guys, what do you think about our trade war with China? because recently Trump conducted a party at White House. Yes, after completing the construction of the Golden Ballroom, he invited billionaires to the White House, the likes of Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. He invited them to White House. And as you can see from the videos, there was a farmer who wrote letter to Trump many times, and he voted for him 3 times, but he didn't get a response. But Trump is inviting billionaires to the White House to discuss maybe about the next billions they will be making. So guys, tell me in the comment section, what good does Trump has for this country? What good does he have for this country? Because he's inviting billionaires, but what about the farmers who voted for him in majority? Why doesn't he invite them to the White House and tell them about the plans he has for them in the future? Because our farmers are suffering a lot. Our farmers, crops are rotting in the field. Our farmers don't have enough workers to pay to work in their farms, and if they have, they can't afford to pay them. Our farmers, they are expecting for bailouts. Our farmers are filing for bankruptcy. But what Trump is interested in is inviting billionaires to the White House to discuss about the next billions they will be making. Why does our country hate the common man? Why does our country hate the common woman? Someone who is working honestly, someone who is trying to make a living honestly, they can't survive in this country. They can't survive unless you know the president. It's only the time you will be making profit in this country. So guys, give me your comments. How do you think about this thing? How do you think about our farmers? If you sympathize with them, maybe you can set a GoFundMe to fund them.